Hi, Tech Silver here and welcome to my Samsung Galaxy S20 guide. So you're looking to buy one of these new phones, but you're not sure which one to get. Stick around, we'll find out. So we'll start off with the basics. So as you can see, the S20 is the smallest of the three phones, with the Ultra the largest. Where I would say pay the most attention to is the weight. While the S20 starts off at a reasonable 163 grams, the S20 Ultra is 220 grams, which is quite heavy for a phone, but obviously that's probably because of the space zoom camera that we'll cover later on. All three phones have the same IP68 rating. If you want 4G, you have to stick with the S20 or the S20 Plus. They do come in 5G variants. However, the S20 Ultra only comes in 5G. The battery starts off at 4000 milliamps for the S20, then goes up to 4500 for the S20 Plus, and then 5000 for the S20 Ultra. They all have fast charging, but the Ultra has the 45 watt fast charging. The higher the watts, the faster the charging. They're all available in a variety of different colors. However, if it's the choice you want, it's the S20 or the S20 Plus, as the Ultra only comes in Cosmic Grey and Cosmic Black. Life's a little bit simpler when it comes to the actual displays, as they have a lot in common. They all have the QHD Plus Dynamic AMOLED screen, which HDR10 Plus. The resolution is 1440 by 3200. The aspect ratio is 20:9, and they all have the same 120Hz refresh rate at Full HD and 60Hz at QHD. They also have stereo speakers. The difference is basically the size. The S20 has 6.2 inch screen, the S20 Plus 6.7 inch, and the S20 Ultra 6.9 inch, which means that the S20 has a pixel density of 563 pixels per inch, the S20 Plus 525 ppi, and the S20 Ultra has a 511 ppi. All three have a ppi over 500, which is very high. Again, like the display, all three phones share the same CPU and GPU. The only difference, however, is where you buy it. If you buy globally, you're going to get the Exynos 990 chipset, which is an octa-core configuration. If you buy in the USA, you're going to get the Snapdragon 865 chipset. Again, it's an octa-core configuration. GPU wise, you'll get the Mali G77 if you buy globally, and the Adreno 650 if you buy in the USA. When it comes to RAM, it will depend on whether you buy the 4G or 5G variants. So it's 8 gigs for 4G and 12 gigs for the 5G. Storage is 120 gigabytes. The S20 Plus is similar to the S20. The only difference is that you can get storage all the way up to 512 gigabytes. The S20 Ultra has 12 gig as minimum RAM, but it does go all the way up to 16 gigabytes. And storage wise, you can get 128 all the way up to 512 gigabytes. All three phones can be expanded using a micro SDXC card. When it comes to cameras, the S20 and S20 Plus are exactly the same apart from the depth sensor. The S20 doesn't have that. They both share the same 12 megapixel wide lens, the 64 megapixels telephoto lens, and the 12 megapixel ultra wide lens. They both have the 3 times optical zoom, which can go all the way up to 30 times space zoom, but that does use artificial intelligence to achieve this, and it's nowhere near as good as optical zoom. The rear camera is a 10 megapixel wide lens. When it comes to the camera department, this is where the S20 Ultra does differentiate itself from the other two phones. It has a 108 megapixel wide lens, a 48 megapixel telephoto lens, it has a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens. The zoom goes all the way up to 10 times optical zoom, which can go all the way up to 100 times space zoom when it uses the artificial intelligence, something that obviously Samsung is really pushing in its adverts. Like the S20 Plus, it also has a depth sensor. The rear camera is though 40 megapixels wide lens. One thing that all three phones share are optical image stabilization, gyro electronic image stabilization, and something that Samsung refers to as super steady video. Sticking with video, it can record all the way from 720p at 960 frames per second all the way up to 8K resolution at 24 frames per second. The rear camera can record at 1080p at 30 frames per second all the way up to 4K, which can do 30 or 60 frames per second. So we've got to the end of the video, and there's no doubt there's always been one thing on your mind: the price. The S20 starts off at £799 for the 4G 8GB 128GB model, going all the way up to the S20 Ultra, the 5G 16GB 512GB model for £1,399. I personally think the S20 Ultra is too expensive, and the 100 times space zoom camera is just a gimmick. I wouldn't personally pay for that 100 times zoom camera, which you're probably not going to use, and when you do use it, you're probably going to be disappointed at the results. What I would do instead is choose between the S20 and the S20 Plus. Because more and more networks are going the 5G route, I would rule out the 4G variants of the S20 and the S20 Plus. So what I would recommend is either the S20 5G 12GB 128GB model, which is £899, or the S20 Plus version of that, which is £999. I wouldn't worry about the 512GB storage, because all of these phones can be expanded using memory cards, and it'll be a lot cheaper to expand your phone in the future anyway. I hope you found this guide useful and you're a little bit clearer on which phone you're going to buy now. If you like this video, please leave a like, leave any comments you might have, and also, if you don't mind, subscribe to this channel. It's a fledgling channel, as you can see, so I could do with all the support I can get. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.